YouTube, what's up? Riz here, back with some more NFL draft position rankings. Today I'm talking about the cornerbacks and very good cornerback class because of the depth. You can find a guy maybe in the third round that is just slightly graded under a guy like late first. I don't really think there's any elite guys. People hear the corner class is great, so they're thinking there's so many elite guys. It's not because of that. It's because of the depth, how many guys you can find. There's plenty of guys you can find that can start for you day one, which is we never really seen before. That's what I like about this corner class. Um, my number one is Marshon Lattimore from Ohio State. Number one corner. I like his speed, I like his ability to track the ball. Won't really allow you to catch the ball. Good completion percentage at Ohio State. The reason I wouldn't really have him elite is because he has a lot of small injuries. Talked about this in the past, so I'm kind of worried about that actually. Hamstring stuff like that. What's going to keep him out of games? Is he going to have to be coming in and out? It's a big mystery, but excellent player. I would also like for him to attack the ball at his highest point, more than he does, more than I've seen on film. He still made the play on the ball in college. Is it going to work out in the NFL? Against better receivers, it will not. But it's only a small problem because it only happens sometimes. He's a great corner, knows how to track the ball. Could be a lockdown guy, which I prefer lockdown guys rather than a guy that's going to get a pick, a good amount of picks, but then also might get burned. I prefer the lockdown guys. Latimer can be a guy that can get picks and be a lockdown guy. He's my number one. My number two is Sidney Jones from Washington. He was my number one. And the injury, I just put him back to two. I couldn't really put him back further than that because such a great talent. A feared guy. A feared guy. What I mean by that is teams didn't want to throw his way. They tried to avoid him. 0 touchdowns given up in coverage this year, what Sidney Jones had. That's a ridiculous stat. 0 touchdowns. So he won't allow you to catch the ball. Not going to get a million picks, but could be a lockdown guy. People worried about his weight. I'm not really worried about it too much. He can come up and make a tackle, so that's really the only reason you should be worried about weight if he shows signs of weak tackling, which I don't think he does. Then people are worried about his arm length at the combine was under the average, but when you look at the tape, you wouldn't guess that he has under average arm length or wingspan, whatever they're going on, whatever those weaknesses they're coming up for him. He will reach anywhere and bat the ball down, make sure you don't catch it. It looks like he has a longer wingspan if you watch him on tape. So really no weaknesses for Sidney Jones, and a good playmaker guy, won't allow you to catch the ball. So that's why I really like Sidney Jones, and still my number two. Should be good by training camp after getting hurt in his pro day. My number three is tough. 3, 4 are basically a tie, but I don't believe in ties, so I had to pick one. My number three is Quincy Wilson from Florida. The reason why I went with him here is potential. I think he's good right away, though. Can play man and zone equally, is effective in both of those. Some guys are better in one than the other. He's good at both. Physical guy. Technique is a little off. If he had better technique, better mechanics, he'd definitely be higher. Just a guy that's all over the place, attacking the ball, doesn't take a play off. Like his long arms, ability to reach and knock the ball out of receivers' hands. So a high motor guy. I really like Quincy Wilson. He's starting to fall because of his 40 time, but I think he plays faster on the field once he sees where the ball's at. Needs to work on his technique. I hope he goes to a team with good defensive back-minded team, I should say, to work on that. So he can end up being one of the better corners, maybe the best in this draft class if he works on his technique. My number 4 is Gareon Conley from Ohio State. I think right now he may be just a little bit better than Quincy Wilson, but I love Quincy Wilson's potential. Gareon Conley improved every year at Ohio State, but really this last year was a million times better than the last few years, so that is a slight risk. Was it a one-year wonder type thing? I don't think so. I think it's a guy that continually improved, so I think that's just a good thing. Very good pass rating, very good completion percentage against quarterbacks. Ridiculous numbers in that. So it doesn't allow the quarterback to complete the pass. I like those types of guys. Lockdown guy. Also can get picks. So Gareon Conley on the rise, can easily be considered 3 for me even. I have him at number 4. first-round guy. My number 5 is Marlon Humphrey from Alabama. This is another potential guy, one of the younger guys of the group. Did get beat at times, let guys behind him, still made a lot of plays. Another guy that can come up, read the play, make the tackle too. I think he needs a little work, but people have to remember he was going against really good receivers, national championship game. He was right there at Mike Williams. Like, it's not like he completely got torched. He was right there. Mike Williams was just the better player and the better prospect. So Marlon Humphrey could work on some things, but he's there. It's close. I can see him being another lockdown guy eventually. So he's in the top 5 for his potential. I think a few years from now, he easily can end up being the number 1 corner in this draft class looking back. But for the most part, when I do my rankings, I kind of give the edge to the guy that is more ready right now. But if it's close, I do look for potential, like I did with Quincy Wilson. Then outside the top 5, there's plenty of guys that would be in a top 5 rankings in past cornerback classes, draft classes. Next is Tease Tabor, such a good football player. Hard to not have him in the top 5. Worry about his 40 time. That was pretty disappointing. Very good at short routes, curls, slants. Oh, maybe the best in the class at that. Deep coverage I'm a little concerned about. So that sounds like he may be a nickel corner, but I think I would give him a shot at outside. I think he can still be a good corner. Tackling also needs to work on as well. But a guy that can read plays, come up and make a pick. Good playmaker on short routes. Next up would be Fabian Moreau, who also got hurt in his pro day. So maybe he takes a slide from UCLA. Physical guy. Not too many weaknesses for him. Ran a better 40 than expected. So he's kind of a guy that's been on the rise and then it got hurt. So maybe he's falling. But I still expect him second round. Then I got 2 guys that are very similar. Kevin King and Akello Witherspoon. Kevin King from Washington, 6'3" corner. Akello Witherspoon from Colorado, 6'3" corner. Both guys need to work on tackling, but both great in coverage. Really can't split the two. Very similar corners. Witherspoon's a guy that I really like. A lot of pass deflections. Pretty sure he led the nation in pass deflections, so very good lockdown corner, possibly at the next level. Rasul Douglas from West Virginia, another guy, ton of interceptions, playmaker guy, big corner. I like that about him. Could use his hands a little too much sometimes. And weird West Virginia scheme. Ton of defensive backs back there. Hardly presses, hardly plays man. So that could be that's a big question mark, I guess I'd say. How is he transitioned to the NFL? Cordrea Tankersley from Clemson, another good corner, guy that I expect to go second round. I may not be as high on him as others. Tends to grab a lot. I see him getting multiple pass interference calls at the next level. So that's why maybe I'm not as high on him as others. Tends to change up his, if he's getting beat, if he got beat, he may play too far off and play, I guess that's playing safe, but playing too safe, I should say. I noticed that on tape. Houston's Howard Wilson, really like this guy. This guy's on the rise for me. Great tape. I think he should have stayed, and if he came out next year, he would be talked about much more. Really, the only weakness for him is his weight. He's very, very skinny, needs some strength, but very underrated guy. Tape looks great. He's a playmaker. Adoree Jackson, another corner I'm not as high on as others. Excellent athlete. I expect him to go in the second round because of his athleticism, but as a straight-up corner, I almost prefer him in the third round. Very raw, gets beat more than these other guys. I mean, this is a good corner class as well, so maybe in last year's class or a past draft class, he would be much better. It's just he's down here because of the skill, because of how good this corner class is, but his size kind of makes him look like he may be a nickel corner, but he struggled to cover the middle of the field, slants, short routes, stuff like that, giving up 80% is the stat of completions there, which is not good at all. So it does get beat. I would like for him to go to a DB-minded team. I think he has the potential because his technique is just great. Mechanics are right on. So if he goes to a team that can teach him better coverage skills, then I think he could be great. Very good athlete. Other guys I want to talk about, I think, are more nickel corners, slot corners. Tre'Davious White, I mean, I think a team is going to draft him to be an outside corner. I think he has potential to go late first round. I think he should be in the second round. I think he can be. I think he can play corner outside, but I prefer him nickel because majority of his snaps at LSU was covering the slot. I think he can be one of the best nickels in the NFL. There's not too many great ones. I think he can be one of the best, but I think a team's going to draft him to play outside corner, which I think he could play, but I think he's more of a nickel. Desmond King, another guy. Not enough people talking about Desmond King. 2 years ago, led the nation in interceptions. Teams kind of feared him. This year, I still think he's a corner. I kind of have him listed under this DB section, nickel, corner, safety. Could be any of those. I think he's a great football player. I wouldn't think it'd be a bad pick if somebody took him late first, but I think second round is more comfortable for him. Can play, again, he can play corner, nickel, safety. I prefer him as a corner. Needs to work on his man coverage, but a good football player. Jordan Lewis, nickel corner, would have been one of the better nickel corners right away, I think. But domestic violence issues, where does he go? I really don't know. He could drop completely out of the draft. That would be something, but he would have been a second rounder, I'd say, late second rounder. Chidobe Awuzie from Colorado, another guy that can play corner, nickel, or safety. Teams really like him. I think he kind of went from an underrated guy to an overrated guy. I kind of saw him in this late second, early third range when he wasn't being talked about, and then all of a sudden he's early second guy, and I see some mock drafts with him late first. I think now he's a little overrated. I think he needs to work on his tackling, but really like that he's able to play multiple positions. Like this next guy, Cameron Sutton from Tennessee, a guy that can play corner, nickel, or safety. Looked very good at the Senior Bowl at safety. So another guy that could be more of a playmaker guy. Had a recent injury, so maybe that's why he drops a little bit. The other nickel corner, Corn Elder, undersized, but make plays for an undersized guy. He can really tackle. So really like him as a sleeper mid-rounds. And DeMonte Kazee from San Diego State, another guy on the rise, may get a chance at outside corner, but I think maybe more of a nickel. So that's a lot of DBs we went over. There's plenty more. Those are the ones I wanted to focus on today. A great defensive back class. We still got to talk about the safeties in the next video. Very good safeties as well. But that'll do it for this one. Please like and subscribe if you want more, and enjoyed. Goodbye.